Tyron Woodley versus Vicente Luque. Now what really happened in this fight? The former champion, the old vet, tried to make the comeback and get into the win column, taking out the up-and-coming contender with an aggressive style. Tyron Woodley came out there just like he said he was going to, and just like a lot of people thought he should, being aggressive, but the aggression bit him back and caused him to fall under Vicente Luque's power. At the end of the day, being aggressive was always going to be a good thing for Tyron Woodley, but overly aggressive is never a good thing. Everything is better in moderation, and Woodley took the level of aggression to the absolute maximum. There was rarely any defense he had. He was winging out big right overhands, he was winging out big right uppercuts, and whenever there was a break in action, he was the one that initiated every single attack, allowing Vicente Luque to gauge the timing, the distance, and how Tyron Woodley is going to attack him. Vicente Luque played the patient game, and patience is always going to beat aggression. Just like we saw in the main event, Stipe Miocic got knocked out for being overly aggressive, while Ngannou was the patient one. Woodley was the overly aggressive fighter, and he fell under the power of the patient Vicente Luque. In both fights, we have seen the younger fighter showcase higher fight IQ, even though they're nowhere near as experienced when it comes to high-level competition. But that's just how the game goes. The young takes out the old. And here he is defeating one of the greatest welterweights of all time in devastating fashion, gauging and countering the aggression. If you notice what he was trying to do in the beginning, so Woodley comes out there and just wings out a huge right overhand right from the get-go. It was really interesting how Luque was trying to defend this. He shot up an elbow while simultaneously holding up a tight guard. He was able to block the overhand right, and the elbow gets pretty close. If he's able to angle it a little bit better, he can counter Woodley coming in with it while also blocking the right overhand. He tried this again later, but instead of fixing the angle of the elbow, he extended it further, which left a bigger triangle opening that you see here for Tyron Woodley to connect right through with the overhand right, and it actually stuns Vicente Luque. He gets caught right behind the ear, wobbles a little bit, but then he just like wakes up and refocuses it immediately on Tyron Woodley. It was really strange to see how quickly he recovers from the blow. And it just goes to show you, Vicente Luque is one of the toughest guys, one of the most durable guys in the sport. To take a big shot from Tyron Woodley like that, who's one of the hardest hitters of all time in the welterweight division, that is super impressive, man. But for the most part, Vicente Luque was able to block that overhand right until Tyron Woodley starts straightening up the punch a little bit. When he came up with the same setup, jab and shoulder right hand, Luque was always looking to block tight for an overhand, so this leaves an opening down the center for the right cross, and Woodley would try to follow up with a left hook. And it seemed like everything was going good for him. Woodley was catching him, he wasn't really getting hit. He was the aggressor, he was winning the round, he stunned Luque at one point. Not the most technical approach, but very aggressive. And then came where Luque saw the telegraph and fired back. It took 2 minutes and 56 seconds until Luque found the opening. Instead of going for the overhand right, Tyron Woodley now extends a left hook very wide, and at the same time, look how he drops his right hand. This is the biggest tell you can give an opponent of what you're trying to throw. One arm is left wide to the side, the other arm is low cocked back behind him. Vicente Luque knows, I'm going to throw the overhand right because the uppercut usually is going to come up the center line. And when you throw a bolo uppercut like this, your head is also going to be on the center line for the overhand to land on you. Tyron Woodley is also keeping his left hand down, so there's absolutely no defense at all. It's an entirely offensive attack. When I throw an overhand right, my head naturally gets off the center line to my left, which creates more leverage in my right overhand. And notice the difference in fundamentals. Luque always keeps his left hand up. Even though he knows the uppercut's coming, it's just good habit, and this is the beginning of the end. I've never seen Woodley be wobbled this badly ever since he got knocked out by Nate Marquardt, so it is an unusual territory to see. But then Woodley throws a very ill-advised knee for some reason. He's not fighting a wrestler, he's fighting someone who's taller than him, and a guy who actually fights pretty tall. He stands up tall, never ducks his head that much, he moves forward and back. I don't know what the knee was for necessarily. He left himself extremely exposed, and he didn't even try to clinch up for the knee. He just threw up a knee like he was Dan Hooker. And because of the lack of defense, again, that he shows Vicente Luque, you can never open up yourself like this against Luque. Luque just fires out a left hook. A big one too. He winds it, which is actually not characteristic for Luque to do. He's usually very tight with his punches, but he knows the big opening, so he just swung it out there. Very confident it will connect on Tyron Woodley, and this is the one that really puts Woodley on wobbly legs. And it gets to a point where Woodley actually throws a right hand so hard that he gets off balance, and Luque sinks in an undefended, no resistance Bravo choke and puts Tyron Woodley out. Just an amazing performance by Vicente Luque. Tyron Woodley was putting on a good performance, but again, he got overly aggressive. If he kept it in moderation, I really wonder how this fight would have played out. There was an obvious difference in striking skill. Woodley was not being super technical. He was banking on his explosion and his power with big looping punches. And I do think if he went that direction, even with moderate aggression, I think Vicente Luque would have eventually figured it out, find the openings, and start catching Woodley probably in the second round. So excellent performance by Vicente Luque, the win he needed in his career. And from this, he's going to enter probably into the top 7, man. He's a couple wins away from an eventual title shot, and I don't think a lot of people expected Luque to be in this position. Now he's on a 3-fight win streak, all finishes, which puts up some interesting matchups for him. I would love to see him fight Michael Chiesa. He already fought Stephen Thompson, who's number 5, so it doesn't make sense to do that again. Or they could put him against Damian Maia or Neil Magny. Any of those fights would be perfect for Vicente Luque. As for Tyron Woodley, man, I think it's probably time to retire, in my opinion. That's 4 losses in a row. He has one of the best welterweight resumes of all time. He's done a lot in the division, and he has a legacy, man. If he wants to go again, he has to fight maybe a Robbie Lawler rematch. I mean, something like that would make the most sense. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. If you did, make sure to thumbs up. If you're my content, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.